Hey friend, it's great to be with you in this particular episode of Module 1 in the Church Board track. I really hope you've been enjoying the content so far. We've loved putting it together for you. You know, I'll do a quick review. You'll remember back in the one of the early videos, we talked about some of the big components, the 30,000 foot view of Church Board leadership. We talked about worldview, we talked about mission, we talked about core values, then we had a line across, we talked about strategy, we talked about the board's role above the line, the pastor and staff's role, key volunteers below the line, and how they communicate with each other, and how when those things work together, that really sets the stage for the Lord to do some great things in the life of the church. You know, I've been around church boards long enough to know that frankly, there are a lot of things you do as a board member that are fairly routine. This particular module, we're talking about, what's the board supposed to do? And you do the routine things. You can't quite do them in your sleep, but if you've been on the board for any length of time at all, you know that there's things that just come with the territory. It's Sunday in and Sunday out. It's the monthly board meetings, and it's all that goes on to allow the board to be what the board needs to be for the pastor of the church. Now, from time to time, there's some real big things that happen, and the board plays a critical role in those big things. But for today, I want to talk to you about the three very biggest things that you'll ever do as a church board member and as a church board. Everything else pales in comparison to these three things. So if you want to know what you're supposed to be doing as a church board member, you tune into what we've got for the next couple of minutes, and you're going to see exactly what the biggest, highest priority roles and responsibilities you have as a board member. Okay, you ready to go? Number one, the very most important thing you will ever do as a church board member is select your next lead pastor. Now, the reality is your current lead pastor really has no interest in you exercising that anytime soon. I mean, they're perfectly happy where they're at, and you love the pastor and so on and so on. But the reality is that pastor will not be there forever. There'll come a day where they'll resign, they'll go someplace else, they'll retire. I mean, we hope they don't die in the pastorate, but I mean, they're not going to be there forever. And so when that time comes, it will be your role as board members, your role as a board as a whole, to step up and chart the course for the future, because that person you pick is going to determine where your future goes. I mean, we see it all the time in elections that come around where you're electing representatives and senators and state offices and presidents and prime ministers. And if you pick one candidate, you're going to go this direction. If you pick another candidate, you're going to go this direction. The fact is, picking people for leadership charts the course for where the ministry is going to go. And the church is no different than any other organization in that way. I mean, you think about your marriage. I mean, I think in my case, 42 years ago, I picked this drop-dead gorgeous redhead, Pat Majeski from the great state of Michigan. And, in picking that woman, charted a course. And she charted my course, I charted her course, we charted the same course together, and we've loved it. But let me tell you something, my life would be different if it weren't for that choice I made 42 years ago. In the church, your church is what it is today because of the great choice some board made months or years ago to bring your current pastor there. So you want to take care of that person and honor that person, but when that time comes, you need to step up and be ready to pick the next leader of your church. Number one responsibility of any church board. Number two, you have responsibility to pray. Now, when I'm talking about praying, I'm talking about really getting a hold of God. I'm looking around here it is. I'm talking about really getting a hold of God. I'm not talking about just cursing, bless pastor and, bless the church. I'm talking about on your face before God and really getting a hold of him in a way that he hears your cry on behalf of your pastor. Now, we've created, you've seen me talk about this, or you'll hear me talk about this in some of the other episodes, but I want you to see the prayer card we have in the downloads in one of the other modules, but you'll be able to download this and just put the names in of your board members. So this is a prayer card with scriptures. I've got 5 scriptures listed down below here. There are 2 from Ephesians, 1 Philippians, 1 in Colossians, and 1 in 2 Thessalonians. And what we recommend is that you pray, these are prayers that Paul prayed, that you pray these prayers over your pastor. So I've got on the back the prayer in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verses 11 and 12. So I'm going to pray this prayer for pastor. This is what you would do. To this end, I always pray for pastor, that my God may make pastor worthy of the Lord's calling and may fulfill every resolve for good and every work of faith by God's power, so that the name of our Lord Jesus may be glorified in pastor, and he in the Lord, according to the grace of our God and the Lord Jesus Christ. Look at this. This is how Paul prayed for the Thessalonians, for the Ephesians, the Colossians, and so on. If it's good enough for Paul to pray that prayer, pray scripture, I think it's good enough for us to pray for our pastor. Now here's the drill. Pastors who have praying boards are very happy campers. Pastors who have boards that get a hold of God see the direction of the church upward. Here's the deal. Yes, I understand that we have responsibilities as board members, the governance and financial, fiscal, fiduciary responsibility, and we do the month in and month out stuff. But I'm telling you, the church is a unique entity, and it needs to be filled with leaders who are on their face before God. If every board member at your church is calling out to God on behalf of their pastor, their church, and other board members, you're going to see amazing things happen in the church. So number 1, you got to find the right pastor. Number 2, you need to be praying for that pastor, the church, and the other board members. And number 3, third responsibility is to protect the mission of the church. So what's that look like? Again, you remember we talked about worldview, mission, core values. Mission is central to what you're all about. It is critically important that you are taking the time to stay focused on mission. Now, you're not focused on strategy. That's in the purview of the pastor and the staff. You're focused on mission. And when I say focused on mission, here's the kind of thing I'm talking about. We've watched denominations, churches, fellowships that all started. They started solid. They were preaching the gospel. They were solidly attuned to Scripture. And over time, years and decades, they shifted. And you're saying, what happened here? How were they this and now they're that? It's called mission drift. And any organization can fall prey to this. But your church is too critical to your community for you to fall prey to this. I challenge you to protect the mission of the church. The board works with the pastor to make sure all initiatives, all efforts that are designed to move the church forward align with mission. And when they do, you're going to see the church do things you've never imagined possible before. So what's the takeaway? The takeaway is your big 3 responsibilities are to select the services, ministry services of your lead pastor, pray, and protect the mission. And when you do those 3 things, you set the church in motion to be more than you ever could have imagined before. Why? Because you as a board member took your job seriously in ministry to serve your church, to serve the pastor, serve your fellow board members, and do those big 3 things really, really well, and the rest will fall in place. Hope you found this helpful. It's been a great episode to put together for you. Thanks for taking time to watch it. We'll see you in the next one. Be blessed.